Hello everyone, this is Alfie and you're watching the final episode in the Road to the Warzone series. I'll talk more about this later, but for now let's watch the video itself, okay? How to paint barrels, okay? I made scattered terrain, some barrels for scattered terrain for Warzone and for any war game really, okay? If you haven't watched the video, you know where to click. This is just to finish them off and to see how I painted them. Okay, so let's watch. Alright, so let's get these barrels painted. So the first thing to do, which I've done off camera, is basically prime them. As you can see, I've primed them black. Alright, and that's all you need to do really. There's no need to pre-shading or anything like that because I'm not really going to do highlights or anything, nothing fancy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is because the problem is, the limit really is your imagination. You can paint them any color, you can look for any effects, etc, etc. Okay, as you can see, the bottom is left unpainted. All right, so as I was saying, the sky's the limit really. So I'm going to go for bland, if you want, military color and stuff, and I'm going to add rust. Okay, so the first thing to do, as I don't have any rust paint, is I'm going to mix my own. Okay, so I'm going to use approximately 3 drops of copper, another 3 drops of orange, just clear orange, 1 drop of flat earth, and thinner medium. Okay, and that makes for a pretty convincing rust color. So there you have it. That's my rust color. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply it with an old brush. Okay, and we're going to do it in the parts where there would be more wear and tear. Okay, like the bottom here. We'll need a couple of coats. Okay, so now we just need to let it dry and apply a second coat. Alright, so once it's dry and that's a solid enough color, for the rust effect, what we're going to do is just apply a bit of chipping medium, just making sure that we don't apply any on the black areas, because if we do, the coat of paint that we are going to apply afterwards would chip away, and there will be some black showing. Okay, so just making sure that we cover the orange rust. Okay, so here we have the finished results. So as you can see, when painting several of them, you can have different degrees of rusting. Okay, right, now it's time to paint the actual bar. Now that we have the chipping and everything. So for that, I'm going to mix approximately like 5 or 6 drops of German uniform to a couple of neutral grey, and we're going to add our usual airbrush thinner, a little bit of airbrush flow improver as well, and a few drops of water as well. So that but I only mix in those proportions because my compressor doesn't have a pressure regulator, so it works with very little pressure, so the paint has to be quite thinned down. Okay, of course you can totally paint with a little bit of just thin down paint, just regular paint, with a brush. However, I strongly recommend using an airbrush for this task because essentially the coat, when you're applied by brush, you know, would be too thick for the chipping medium. Okay, so that's us with the base coat. Okay, so as you can see, this is the airbrushed one. I'm not bothering with the bottom, and you know, I have here another one that I've done by brush. Okay, as you can see, it looks a little bit more crude, and particularly as the paint was actually quite thinned down. You know, on the second coat, you know, the chipping medium started to activate, so it chipped a few bits and pieces here and there. Okay, it doesn't really matter because, you know, we're not looking for an even finish. So now we're going to chip well, we are going to apply the rust and effect, you know, with the chipping medium. So what we're going to do is we're going to dump an old brush, you know, that's open, you know, destroyed pretty much. Okay, and you know, we're just going to dump it and, you know, apply, you know, a bit of water. See if I can get a bit closer. In the parts, as you can see, almost immediately it starts to chip. Okay, now we just proceed to apply, you know, the effect. Okay, so here we are. I've done, you know, several, you know, in different levels or degrees of erosion. Now, to add a little bit of texture, which is the main problem with these couplings. Okay, that, you know, they have no texture. What we're going to do is just going to add a very quick wash. Okay, so we're going to mix black wash and a few drops of red. Okay, roughly, I would say 4 drops of amber, 3 of black, maybe 2, start with 3, and another 2 of red. Right, and just throw it in there. And it'll add a little bit of texture and you know, difference in tones, so, particularly to the rust, you know, the rust of it. Okay, so carefully, because the wash is very flowy, very liquidy. Okay. Okay, so that's the wash dried. Okay, and well, another thing that I've done, it's actually quite important. I've done it off camera, but not because it's not important. It's to add a little bit of matte varnish. Okay, it's important because we don't want, you know, any further chipping. Okay, so that'll protect, you know, the base coat. Okay, so. It's totally fine. I've done it with the brush, you know, the matte varnish. Okay, but you know, it's totally fine to do it with the airbrush. My problem is, you know, as I mentioned earlier, my compressor doesn't really have a lot of pressure, and I'm also a lazy fricker, and I can't be bothered cleaning it afterwards. Okay, so I just did it with the brush, which is totally fine. All right, so let's go with the final step. Okay, which is just to add a few touches of gloss varnish, you know, in random parts, just to simulate a bit of leaked oil and that kind of, like, you know, used leaky bits. Okay, so we can just do it completely at random. Okay. Okay, and you know, once it's dry, we could call it a day. And so, as I mentioned in the video, that's just one of the many practically infinite options that you have for painting barrels. You can do them in different colors, more weathered, less weathered, with rust, without rust, you know, just maybe scratches, anything at all. So now, why is this the final sounds very final episode in the Road to the Warzone series? Well, essentially because, you know, I just wanted to finish the barrels before I moved on to something different. Okay, so as I mentioned in a previous video, link there, with Protos discontinuing the Warzone Resurrection product line, I'm going to transform the channel a little bit. Okay, essentially it's going to be, you know, about, you know, Warzone and, you know, how Warzone continues to be alive, you know, despite the sad news. So it's going to be battle reports. It's going to be proxies, you know, ideas for what miniatures you can use for what units in Warzone. It's going to be about, you know, new rules, because Protos is going to continue supporting Warzone. It's going to be about tournaments and events, etc, etc. Okay, so I'm going to change the name a little bit. You know, I think I'm going to call it the Warzone Chronicles. Okay, that connects with the Mutant Chronicles universe as well, of which I'd like to talk about as well. And that's it. Another thing that I'd like to mention is that we have reached 105 subscribers. I am absolutely delighted, and I want to take this opportunity to thank every single one of you. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for your support. Okay, so with that, I'll say see you later. The next time, you know, you click on this channel, there'll be differences. I'll do some adjustments to the channel. Until then, thank you very much for your support. 105 thanks to all of you, and we'll see you in the next video.